Hello, my name is Chris Durso. I'm from Cape Coral, Florida, in the United States. And for today's lesson, I want to talk about the channel strip and illustrate the signal flow through a channel strip in a DAW and describe in detail each component of that channel strip, including its usage and position in the signal flow. Now, what I've got here is what I use for a DAW, which is Sonor X2 Producer. Sonor allows you to have a number of different channel strips. Your audio track channel strip, which is what we're going to use today because it contains the most information for illustration. You'll also have a MIDI track channel strip, an instrument channel strip, a bus channel strip, and a main channel strip. But what I've pulled up here is a number of audio channel strips as well as a MIDI channel strip. And on the end here is a bus channel strip. But we're going to focus on this very first one, the audio channel strip. So one thing to know is that as you move down the channel strip, the signal is pretty much flowing from top to bottom with a few exceptions. But to start, the signal begins up top here at the input trim, your gain control. And this is a pre-fader input gain for fine-tuning a track's volume or input level to this particular strip. After this, you have your FX component, which in Cakewalk is called the FX bin. This is a patch point for a track's plugins or soft synths. If you click on the plus, you can add in an audio plugin or a soft synth. If you were to do that, you would see that it would come up here in the gray rectangle, and this takes a signal from the strip, sends it out to whatever component you're using, and allows you to manipulate the sound with an effect or a soft synth. Below this are your sends. I've got two pulled up here. This will allow you to send a copy of this track signal to a bus to manipulate it further, either using a bus to control reverb or some type of effect right across all the channels, or to manipulate it in some other way, for example, with monitoring. This is to turn the send on or off here, and this is either to make it either post or pre-enabled. This switch, you will either send the signal to the bus prior to the volume fader or after the volume fader. The default setting is post after the volume fader, which is what you would use if you are using it for effects. You would use it in a pre-setting if you were going to use it as a monitor mix. This shows you the level control of the send as well as your panned setting. This shows you the destination of the send. If you were going to send it to a bus, for example, you would come over here and open up a new stereo bus. The second send works the same way. The number 2, of course, shows that it's the second send, and you can have an additional effect, additional monitor mix, additional aux, whatever you'd like to use here. Beneath this is the MSR, what's called the MSR module, the Mute Solo Record module, which is the most important component usually of the channel strip. These top rows here will be for stereo interleave, which is normally active. You don't want to have to work with two right and a left stereo. You want to have them interleaved, so that's normally on. This is your phase button. Normally it is normal phase. You can invert the phase if you need to with an instrument. This is your read and write enable for automation. Read enable for automation and write enable for automation. This enables automation or disables automation playback if you are going to be using that on the track. This is your mute button. This will mute this particular track, remove it from the mix when you're listening back. This is kind of the opposite, your solo button. So you only activate this track. You can solo this track and hear just this mix. This is the very important record enable button, which enables that track for recording. And this is your input echo, turns input monitoring on for that track. You have a pan control for the general volume of the track, And here you have your volume fader, which will go from infinity, which is silent, all the way up to plus 6 dB with an accompaniment, a volume display here. Below this is your track icon, which right now is the default audio icon. You can change this by opposite clicking and loading a different icon, for example, a guitar or keyboard icon for that track. This will show you your input for that track, what you're bringing in to record on that track, and this will show you your output of that track. Finally, you have the track name, which now is set to just track 1, and below that the number of the track. And that is it. All tracks work the same. I hope this is a clear indication of what tracks do in your DAW. Thank you and happy recording.